Hi, and welcome to the Zoom R8 addendum to this DVD. As you notice that this DVD is mainly on the operation of the Zoom R24, but because the R8 is basically the little brother of the R24 and their operations are basically exactly the same, instead of shooting a whole new DVD on the R8, the R24 DVD will work fine, but there may be some differences between the R8 and the R24, and when they do come up, then you'll see a special thing like this come up on the screen just telling you the differences between the R8 and the R24. But for the most part, you'll be able to watch the entire footage and just follow along with your R8 because the operations and the screens are basically the same. So let's get the a couple of the big things out of the way, the obvious differences between the R8 and the R24, and they are this. On the R8, you have 2 inputs and 8 tracks. So every time within the DVD of the R24 footage, when I say something like you have 8 inputs and then you have 24 tracks, or you can switch between the first 8 tracks and the second 8 tracks and yada, 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 just know that on the R8, that's not applicable. You have 2 inputs and 8 tracks. There also might be just some minor differences, particularly when we get down to the effects. Like for example, if you press effects and turn insert effect on, I think in the DP24 there's 9 different effect algorithms. I think there's 8 on the R8. So whenever there's any differences like that and you're seeing something on the screen that shows that you have, I don't know, say 40 different effects and there's only 38 in here or something like that, kind of that's the idea behind that. Rather than reshooting everything, just follow along. You'll follow along almost everything just like the R24, but there may be just some minor differences from that. But other than that, this is a very, very capable recorder. Probably the best thing I need to do just before we get into the R24 footage is to show you how to actually record on the R8. The actual method of recording on an R8 is a little bit different than the R24, so let me go through that specifically, how to record on the R8. On the R24, you have 8 different inputs and you use a thing called swapping tracks that we talk about in the main footage, but you don't need to do that here on the R8. We have 2 inputs here, so it's very easy to assign them to any one of these tracks down here for recording. So let me first talk about these 2 inputs here. These 2 inputs can have a number of different settings over here. The first one is a little bit special because it has a high Z input for a guitar or a bass. So if you place any high Z input like an electric guitar or a bass in there, select the high Z right here. That will pad down that input and make sure that it records perfectly without being distorted. If you're going to be bringing in a mic or a line, then set it to the middle setting here and place your mic or your line in the back there using either an XLR or a 1/4" cable. The third setting is the built-in microphone. That's the microphone right down here. The second input is basically the same as the first one, except it doesn't have that high Z. So from the second and third option, that's exactly the same over here. You can set this to bring in a mic or a line in there, or the built-in microphone, which is down here. Now, if you are going to be using a microphone in the back here, and it is a phantom power, it's a condenser microphone that needs phantom power, you can switch that on right there. So that's about it for putting in microphones or lines or the inbuilt microphones there. Like I said, you have basically 2 different choices for both these mic line or the internal one, with a third choice over here on the first one here. Then you can actually turn on or off these inputs here and you can adjust your gain just like you do on the R24. So once you've turned these guys on, then you arm the tracks and you can basically assign any of these guys to any of these tracks right here. If you are going to record in stereo, I suggest you record enable these guys here, and these 2 guys will get recorded onto these 2 tracks. Just as easily you could record them onto tracks 7 and 8. If you're going to record something in mono, just turn one of these guys on and then just record enable just one of these tracks. So that's pretty much it. Everything else in the footage is the same. If there are any differences, there'll be something coming up on the screen like this that will show you the differences between the R8 and R24. But from my personal perspective, you've got a steal on your hands with the R8, because it's basically an R24. Some less tracks and less inputs. If you don't need all those inputs and all those tracks, this has all the power of an R24. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the DVD. Thanks so much.